entertaining videos. Legs and rock fire, you know they kicking it for sure. So sit back and enjoy yourself and like the video.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into, well, a classic Bay Area debate, isn't it?
Absolutely. The sports Mount Rushmore always gets people talking.
It really does. And for this, we're zeroing in on just one source, an excerpt from Bay Area Sports Pantheon, Icons of the Field.
Right. So our job here is basically to pull out what this specific material says. Who does it consider the absolute icons?
Exactly. What's the consensus according to this source, and crucially, why? It names 4 pretty commonly accepted figures.
Yeah, it throws out Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Willie Mays, and Steph Curry as the main group.
But it doesn't stop there, right? It acknowledges others who often come up.
That's right. Folks like Barry Bonds and Rickey Henderson get mentioned too, as, serious contenders in the conversation.
So let's dig into the details this source provides for each one. It kind of lays out this common consensus view first.
Which is a good starting point. So, Joe Montana, what's the key argument this source makes for him?
Well, it really emphasizes his success with the 49ers, framing him as like the leader of that era.
Not just winning, but the sheer number. It specifically calls out 4 Super Bowl wins.
Yeah, 4 rings. And it labels him widely considered one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, tying that reputation directly to his time here.
Okay, so dynasty leadership, Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. And sticking with those 49ers teams, Jerry Rice is right there beside him in this source's view.
For Rice, the focus is definitely on his dominance as a receiver. The source calls him record-breaking.
And it uses that phrase, unparalleled production and longevity. That really stands out.
It does. It's not just about the catches, but doing it for so long at such an elite level. And it notes he played most of his career with the Niners.
Which anchors him firmly in the Bay Area legacy, according to this text. Unparalleled production is, pretty hard to argue with given his stats.
Totally. Okay, so shifting from football to baseball. Willie Mays, he's on this consensus list too. What's the source say makes him a lock?
Well, first off, it just calls him a baseball legend. Sets the tone right away.
And it brings up his nickname, right? The Say Hey Kid.
Yeah, connecting his cultural impact. But, crucially, it mentions he played a crucial role in the Giants' success. So team impact, not just individual brilliance.
Although it definitely highlights that too. It calls him one of the greatest all-around baseball players.
Right. The all-around part seems key here. Hitting, fielding, everything. That's the source's justification.
Greatest all-around. Powerful case. Okay, bringing us more current. The source includes Steph Curry. What's the main argument there?
Curry's positioned as, the defining figure of this current Warriors era. It cites the multiple championships, obviously.
Team success, yep. But there's more, isn't there?
There is. The source puts real weight on how he revolutionized the way basketball is played. That's a huge claim.
It really is. So it's not just winning, but fundamentally changing the game itself. That's how this source sees his contribution.
Exactly. A game changer. So you've got these 4 legends, winners, dominant talents, icons.
But, like we said, the source acknowledges that the debate isn't over. It brings up other names, Barry Bonds, for instance.
Right. And the source is pretty careful with the wording there. It calls him a controversial but highly successful home run hitter.
So it notes the controversy without, getting into it, but immediately follows with his success.
Precisely. It acknowledges the controversy exists in the public discussion, but pivots straight to still considered one of the greatest baseball players of all time. It presents both facets as part of his story, as discussed, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's a nuanced way to put it from the source. And it also mentions another baseball great, Rickey Henderson from the A's.
Henderson gets the baseball legend tag, too. But the source really zeroes in on one thing, his speed and base running ability.
So highlighting that unique, absolutely dominant skill.
Exactly. That's presented as the core of his case for being in this conversation. Plus, it connects him to the A's success, saying he played for them during their most successful period.
Linking individual greatness to team history again. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What have we pulled from this source?
Well, we've seen it highlight Montana for his 4 Super Bowls and leadership, Rice for just insane production over time.
Then Mays as the legendary Say Hey Kid, the ultimate all-around player, and Curry for his championships and for literally changing basketball.
Right, and then it acknowledges Bond's controversial but undeniably one of the greats, according to Sports Talk and Henderson, the unique base-stealing legend tied to the A's peak.
What's really interesting is how this one source values different things, isn't it? Championships, pure stats, all-around skill, game-changing impact.
Yeah, across different sports and different eras. It paints a picture based on various forms of greatness recognized in the Bay Area sports scene.
So it leaves us, and you listening, with a question, based only on the way this specific source described these athletes.
Just on these descriptions we've talked about.
Which player's single argument, as presented here, feels like the most compelling reason for them to be on that Mount Rushmore? Something for you to chew on.